I'm in this beautiful little stand of evergreen trees today out in the woods. It's a really beautiful late winter, early spring day, and I wanted to talk to you guys today about the difference between tracking your cycle versus charting your cycle. So if you've ever marked on a calendar, like I used to do these little red circles around the dates of my period on a actual physical calendar, or if you've ever gone into your calendar app and you've just marked out the day of the start of your period or the days that your period was in total, that is tracking your cycle. That is when you're literally just tracking the dates of your bleeds. But with that information, while you know when you're bleeding, it's also an incomplete picture because we can't actually be certain based on just that information if you're actually ovulating or not. Versus charting your cycle, you're literally creating an actual chart with a whole graph. There's numbers involved, but there's no real math involved. But there's different symbols involved and it's more complex. Charting your cycle is more about the cervical mucus that you see. It's more about LH testing. It's more about basal temperature, and also, yes, your bleeds as well. And so you can see immediately that tracking your cycle, well, that's a really great place to start with menstrual cycle awareness, and it definitely brings more mindfulness, to your overall menstrual experience. It is only giving a really small slice of the picture. Versus charting your cycle, you're able to actually confirm ovulation and know really on a scientific basis whether or not you are fertile or infertile at any given time throughout the whole cycle, which is really cool because then you can use that information as natural birth control and to avoid pregnancy if learned correctly. So anywho, again, tracking your cycle, while it's giving you this slice, actually charting your biomarkers and learning how to accurately observe your cervical mucus and your LH testing and your basal temperature, this is an incredible way to bring much more awareness about your health. It's a much better way to understand, like I said, whether or not you're actually ovulating, because you can have a bleed that looks like menstruation and call it a period, but it may not actually be true menstruation. It could be an anovulatory bleed, it could be irregular spotting. There's a number of different types of bleeds that someone could have. It could also just be a withdrawal bleed if someone's on hormonal birth control and they're not actually ovulating. So there's a number of different types of bleeds that we can experience, but actual true menstruation, that is always following after ovulation. And so there is a big difference there hormonally and health-wise in terms of what's going on. So I just want to touch upon that because I see the word tracking your cycle thrown around a lot. That just refers to marking a calendar your bleeding days. Whereas actually charting your biomarkers, it's a whole different thing. You're learning way more in depth about the hormones of your cycle. You're learning about what your biomarkers are telling you in terms of your health and fertility status. And I can't express to you enough how life-changing this information has been to me. I went from back in college literally being terrified at the idea of having sex because I was so irrationally fearful of getting pregnant that I didn't even, I had, sex education obviously in high school and things like that, and I knew how it happened, obviously, but I really wasn't literate about more of the details and nuances, and that really scared me, genuinely. And I grew up with a lot of pressure to, not have sex, and it was just, the idea of it was just so terrifying. However, once I learned about fertility awareness and I actually started to chart my cycle, I was like, oh my god, I can do this. I now see a path forward that doesn't involve needing to be on birth control, yet also doesn't require me to use condoms or anything like that. I really saw a path forward where I could be way more independent and I'm actually empowered as opposed to fearful. And it really changed my life. So I just wanted to address that difference between tracking and charting because I think so many of the terms that we use with fertility awareness and about our cycle, they're actually very meaningful and important that we get right, because they, mean specific things. And, the more we learn, the easier it is with all of this, honestly, and the less anxieties we have. So I hope that's helpful to you today. If you have any comments on this, if you have any stories from your own experiences, please leave a comment below. And if you're curious to learn more about fertility awareness, check out other videos on my channel. I have so many explainer videos talking all about cervical mucus and charting, and I am just so excited to share them with you today. All right, see you next time, guys.